Retailer Alex Company recently purchased a new point of sale system to replace its legacy old system for transaction processing and is evaluating different approaches to integrate this new software to its existing infrastructure. Alex decided to take a parallel implementation approach, so it wants to be able to switch back to the legacy system if it encounters complications. Fairly safer approach means two systems will be run simultaneously, the existing one and the new one, and they will be run parallel. If there is any problem, they can always move back to the existing system. So this is the parallel implementation approach. Now, what the question is, which of the following change management controls does this reflect? Reversion access. This is true. This is the right option. Reversion access involves that the firms simultaneously run two systems in parallel, right? So in case if there is a problem in the new system, the firm can revert to the old system if unexpected complication arise. So this is the true statement, without doubt. Post-implementation testing involves once the system has been installed, then testing whether it is working fine. Once the older system has been replaced, testing the new one whether it is performing as per expectation. This is called post-implementation testing. We don't see this here. We are talking about the parallel implementation. Separation of duties, also called the segregation of duties in internal control system, where the custody, authorization, record keeping and reconciliation, they are done by 4 different individuals or group of individuals. We don't see anything like the separation between the system analyst and developer and the operator. Developer and operator, they must be 2 different individuals. We don't see anything in this given situation. Standardized change requests. If users require some amendment in the system, so they just simply don't go to the developer and then developer makes the changes. There is a specific standardized procedure that needs to be followed if you need to make some change in your system. So we don't see anything here. Which of the following control activities should be taken to reduce the risk of incorrect processing? Incorrect processing in a newly installed computerized accounting system. Segregation of duties, this is not the issue we are discussing. I just told you that the custody, authorization, record keeping, reconciliation, the segregation between the programmers and the operator. So this is not the issue. Issue is incorrect processing. Ensure proper authorization of transaction. Authorization of transaction means only those transactions gain entry into the system that are properly authorized. That's not an issue. Issue is incorrect processing. Adequate safeguarding of the assets. Again, the issue is not safeguarding. The information infrastructure must be secured. Unauthorized individual must not be allowed to gain access to the facility. This is not what we are interested in. We are interested in to reduce the risk of incorrect processing. System testing through independent verification of transactions processing results. Independent verification, this is true. System testing through independent verification of transaction processing will help us effectively address the risk of incorrect processing when you install a new system. So this is the perfect option and our right answer. What should a company do when seeking competitive advantage in planning for implementation of a new software system? Seeking competitive advantage in planning for the implementation of new software system. Let us see the options one by one. Design an optimal process and then align the software. Yes, that's it. The implementation of new software provides you greater opportunity not only to access the software's capabilities, but also to reassess, revisit your existing processes, existing activities, so that we can align them with the new software. So this is true. If you want to gain competitive advantage, design an optimal process and then align the software with that process. Perfect option. What about option B? Design the software to fit the existing process. This is incorrect. Just designing a software so that it can fit into existing processes, then what is the innovation? What is newness you are bringing into the business? Wrong. Direct manpower to the non-bottleneck process area. Non-bottleneck process area means that operation or department that has excess capacity and it can even produce more. It can take on more workload. So why do we need to direct manpower on the process that already has a non-bottleneck process? So we don't need to. This totally statement is ridiculous. What we actually do, we direct our manpower to the bottleneck process where things are slowing down, that is causing constriction in our production flow. This is incorrect. Allow management to dictate process. Again, this is incorrect. Why? Because the specific department or segment manager or the process manager, he together with the IT expert, they are the one who should determine the processes and how the software can be aligned with those processes. So this is wrong. A company implements an enterprise resource planning application to help improve its financial and operational reporting, while gaining other efficiencies related to sales and inventory management. For the implementation, the company hires an individual specializing in preparing the company for the changes through documenting new policies and procedures and developing new training. This is an example of which of these? This is not an economic event. You have just hired a specialist who will help you in implementing this new application. So this is not an economic event that requires an entry into your ledgers. Segregation of duties, again incorrect. Segregation means your programmer, the coder, and the operator, they must be separate individuals. This is not what we're talking about. Social event. Hiring a consultant is not a social event. What is it then? It's change management. This specialist that we have hired, he is expert and he is the one who will be managing the aspects of change management, and he can provide us the expertise so that we can bring the change that we are expecting. So this is the right option. Which of the following is a key difference in controls when changing from a manual system to a computerized system? Internal control principles change. Wrong. Whether the system is manual or computerized, your internal control principles stay the same. Segregation, duties, authorization, they stay the same whether the system is manual or computerized. Internal control objectives differ. Wrong. Whether the system is manual or computerized, the objectives of the internal control system, so as to help the organization achieve its objective, those objectives stay the same. C. Control objectives are more difficult to achieve. This is again incorrect, because it's not that always your control objectives will be difficult to achieve. Some will be more difficult, some of the objective, and some will be easier, but almost always the specific controls will be different under the computerized system. So this statement is not completely correct. Methodologies for implementing control change. Yes, when we are changing from a manual system to a computerized system, the controls are always different, but the objective stays the same. So that doesn't mean that they are better or are worse, but they certainly are different. Controls are different. In computerized systems, the controls are different. In manual system, controls are different, but the internal control principles stay the same. Objectives of the control stay the same, but the controls may be different. Under computerized environment, controls tend to be different than the manual system. That is the right option. Which type of system test would be best validated, or which best validate the logical reasoning of the system? Security test, we are looking for logical reasoning. It says security test. Security test verifies that the system that we are currently reviewing, it can block unauthorized penetration from outside. It can prevent some unintended data changes, or this can prevent any other type of system related misuse. It does not test the logical reasoning or the behavior of the system. Then we have the stress test. Again, this is incorrect. Stress test tests the system's ability to handle extremes. Lots of data is to be processed, or complex data needs to be processed. How would the system behave? How would the system perform under these situations? So this is not correct. Then finally, regression testing. Regression testing involves that if x is 2, we know the y will be 7, right? So through regression testing, we can give predefined inputs to get a specific output that is expected, and then applying these cases to new system with new functionality to determine any variation in the system's performance. This is again not what we're looking for. We're looking for logical reasoning. Then it has to be sanity test. What is sanity testing? Sanity testing, it measures whether the system behaves as it was designed. It helps us verify that the design parameters align with the intended use cases of the system. This test would help us reveal or identify abnormalities or unexpected outcomes that are illogical based on the system input and expected output. So this is what we would use for logical reasoning. That makes D to be the correct option. An organization is conducting a beta test with its top customer. What is beta test? Beta test basically is one of the final steps in your software development lifecycle, SDLC. Before a product goes live, we would like to test it well before it is unleashed. The developer will not be present during the test, and the customer gets to test the software at its own site. What type of test is this? Validation test. Validation testing basically is a confirmation that a product, the system that we have developed, meets its intended use and the needs of its users. Since validation tests are conducted when the developers are present, so this is not the option here. We are looking for the testing when the developer itself is not present. Integration testing, like we have accounts payable, receivables, inventory, all these systems work together. How they work together? Integration testing focuses on entire system and how the subsystems work together. The components, whether they work smoothly together. This is not what we're looking for. Unit test means just focusing on just one part of the system. Unit tests are used to validate the smallest component of a system, ensuring that they handle all the inputs and the output correctly. Acceptance testing, this is true. Acceptance testing ensures that the software that we have developed, it works correctly for the intended user in his or her normal work environment. And this is to be done when the developer is not present. So that makes D to be the correct option. Stratford Corporation uses general ledger system that it purchased from a vendor 10 years ago. It is reaching its end of life customer support. The vendor encourages Stratford to switch to its newer cloud-based general ledger platform, which comes with unlimited technical support. Stratford is deciding between subscribing to the cloud service or developing its own software in-house. Which of the following statement is correct for Stratford to consider in determining whether or how to replace this system? A. The cloud-based applications would likely allow Stratford to customize general ledger interface for its employees. This is incorrect. Cloud-based systems are not customizable. Users will have less control over the functionality and other features that they wish to customize to. So this is not correct. It would likely be more cost efficient to subscribe to the cloud-based application. This is again not true, because in cloud-based computing you have to pay monthly or yearly for a long period, maybe 5 or 10 years. But when you get your own systems developed in-house, it is a one-time cost, but once you go, it's for a very long period of time. So this is not true. Then what about C? Stratford would likely have more control over quality of its developed the system in-house. That is true. If Stratford goes for in-house development of the software, then since it can just customize it the way they want, they can also have control over the quality, because it's your product being developed in-house. This is the correct statement. Why not D? Stratford would have less pricing flexibility if it designed its own software. Well, if you are purchasing large software, getting large system, it will be expensive, but there is an element of negotiation. You can be more flexible in pricing. So this is incorrect.